Hey Aquarius, what's going on? I want to see what we have going on from now until mid-August. We are starting off with Ten of Swords and King of Pentacles. Okay. Ten of Swords is going to be the end of something, and this can be something that you've been stressing about, something that you've been worrying about, but having it be a 10 means that that's the end of it. Like, it's not a cycle that's going to be continuing itself. Having King of Pentacles and then having the Emperor come up shows that this can be a time of increased responsibility. It can be a time of increased obligation. There can be stuff that you need to tend to. Being practical is going to be helpful, and also making sure that you're giving yourself time to do everything that you need to do. You can feel like in many different areas of your life you have things going on. King of Pentacles can have to do with the different roles and responsibilities that you have to play and to accomplish, but the Emperor has to do with more. The Emperor is like the broader conversation of what's going on within your life, and the King of Pentacles can be a specific area, but as it maybe relates to some other things that you have going on. I do get the sense that a lot of your focus is going to be going, if you look at the Emperor here, which is your energy. Okay, so the Emperor is like your life mission, what you have going on, all of the stuff that's important to you, your responsibilities, those things. To have the Emperor be looking at the King of Pentacles, it feels like it's like a lot of the stuff that you have going on is going to be focused around the King of Pentacles. So King of Pentacles can be duties and responsibilities. It can be your work life. It can be your finances. It can be anything that you've signed up for to do, your commitments, those sorts of things. So having the Emperor be focused there, you can feel like a lot of your energy in general is going to be focused in that direction. So if you have stuff that you need to be getting done, you need to be like cautious and conservative, making sure that you have enough of what you need. The Emperor is going to be somebody that is you taking care of all of the responsibilities that you have, making sure that you're not signing yourself up for more than you can take on, but it's also about making sure to stay organized, to stay practical, to make sure that you're doing a good job with whatever it is that you're signing on for too. Expenses for some of you, I'm hearing that word come through. At the same time, so while you have the responsibility to do that, I'm also seeing Five of Cups. So there can be something that's happening that you could feel like there's some type of loss that you're going through, or some type of disappointment that you go through. But it feels like making sure, this feels like it's all looking at, feels like it's all looking at the King of Pentacles. So I wonder if there's something going on within that area of your life that you can feel like you're struggling with. I do get the sense of this impacting you like emotionally, energetically on some level, even though it feels like you have to still like carry on and do what needs to be done. But then I'm seeing the Chariot. So this can mean that like from now until mid-August that you have something going on that can feel upsetting, it can feel disappointing, it can feel like a bit of a struggle, it can be hard to accept, but then having the Chariot here shows that you end up persevering through this, and you end up coming out on the other side of this. So where Five of Cups shows up and where it lands for you, it can be this thing that you look at it and you're like, oh, I wanted this to go differently. Like, why is it going like that? Like that whole thing, sort of moving through a situation where something of that nature comes to light, having to still show up through that. And then the Chariot shows that being a barrier, that being an obstacle, and you working through it so you do come out on the other side of it. So that thing, it feels more of an emotional or energetic experience that you have being the obstacle, but then Chariot shows you being strategic in the way that you move through it, and you actually do end up moving through it. So rather than that being a barrier that you don't get through, you work through it. Can initially have you feeling stuck though. Some of you could feel like efforts that you were putting in, something wasn't being recognized. Because the Emperor will be you showing up and putting in work and making efforts to be disciplined with what you're doing. There could have been something that you were trying to accomplish, but then Five of Cups can be that thing going differently than what you were aiming for. So you thought that it was going to land here, and it ends up landing over here, and having to sort of come to terms with the fact that that's happening, and also trying to figure that out. So needing to adjust to what ends up unfolding and sort of adapt strategically. Okay. When you go through something that is the Ten of Swords, it can feel like soul crushing in a moment, where it could just be hard to sort of wrap your head around whatever that is that ends up sort of climaxing at that point. Although a Ten of Swords, because it's a 10, it is going to be like the final thing that happens in that chapter before it ends, but it can be one of those moments that feels like it's just a lot to process mentally. And there can even be a part of you that wants to revert in some way, having to deal with something that feels so difficult to process, that there can be a part of you that almost wants to escape from having to process that, because it can be something that feels challenging to deal with. You know, if something is, it feels like too intense, it's natural for us to want to try to get away from that if possible. Even like get away from the responsibility of something, or having to deal with something, or having to like bear the weight of something emotionally. Having Seven of Swords and having Queen of Cups feels like there's a part of you that becomes triggered in some type of emotional way, and may want to revert back to something that may not be helpful, but may not be helpful overall, or with what exactly is going on. But for you can feel like Seven of Swords and Queen of Cups can be the part of you that is looking at something, feeling like this is almost too much for me to take on, and I want to find a way to like bow out of this, or to escape from this, or to run away. I'm seeing the Seven of Swords in this instance be something that's happening that you can feel like, I don't know if I'm really prepared for this, to be taking this on emotionally. This can feel overwhelming. This can feel like too much. I feel almost like I'm drowning in this. And then like having the thoughts on top of everything that you're feeling, it can have you wanting to sort of regress in some way. Because I'm seeing the Seven of Swords pointing in the direction of the past, it can have you wanting to deal with this in some type of way that you may know like, maybe that's not the best way for me to cope with this, but it can feel like something becomes almost too much, that you can feel like reverting back into something that, again, you can know like, maybe this isn't the best thing for me, but I almost like don't know how to cope with this any other way. It can be very difficult to do that. So I'm seeing something along the lines of that being triggered. It feels too like you can hide this, or you can sort of try to tuck it away or escape from it rather than process, or it feels like there's another option here, and it feels like you can talk about this, you can discuss this, you can communicate about this. So maybe this is the difference with seeing Queen of Cups in the middle, seeing Seven of Swords here and Knight of Cups here. Feels like I can either like repress this or run away from it because it's feeling like too much, or I can be very vulnerable and handle this in a way where I'm just going to have to deal with the rawness of this situation and try to see what I can do with this and what I can make of this. And then I'm seeing there be a moment that feels like you get sort of this gust or this burst of energy to deal with exactly what it is that's going on, and have that flame or fire lit within you rather than doing further to sort of snuff it out for yourself. Because Ten of Swords is something that can really knock the wind out of you, that can feel like so much to be processing that you almost feel immobile because of it. But then ending with the Knight of Wands shows there being this inspiration that you have for a sense of, and invigoration that you have for dealing with what you're dealing with. So this feels almost like maybe the situation will be what the situation will be, but you get to choose how you're going to be dealing with this. And it feels like you have the option to deal with this in a way where you may shut down and regress, or you can find it within you to find a sense of motivation to figure things out from here and do what you can with what you have. Yeah. I do get this sense of this coming from a place that can feel like the energy over here is the option that you have for dealing with what's going on. Some of you too, another person is involved in this, but this can all be your energy. Having King of Pentacles, it can feel like a lot is at stake here, because King of Pentacles has to do with a lot of the like practical areas of your life and what you're sort of doing outwardly, and having to show up not just for yourself but also for those around you. And then Queen of Cups is the part of you that's sort of navigating through things energetically and emotionally, and the Emperor is having the responsibility of dealing with and playing like both of these parts within your life, and also trying to be in a place where you're being transparent, not only with yourself, but maybe with those around you too, about what you're experiencing and what you're going through. Processing through your emotions, especially at a time when something can happen in a way that you didn't expect it to, or that is just difficult to deal with in general, and something that you can experience and feel like genuinely upset about. Like I'm putting in, I feel really drawn to Emperor and Five of Cups, which Emperor can feel like I'm doing everything that I can here. And Five of Cups can feel like, and it's still not enough, or it's still not doing what I'm trying to do here. Like I don't know even what else I can do. And the Magician is still trying to like problem solve and figure things out. And the Emperor and the Magician is going to be using this, using your manifesting abilities and also your mind, and keeping it on track in a responsible way, because you have the possibility of maybe like making matters more difficult for you, or having to problem solve when times are tough to do exactly that, and needing to be strategic with the way that you're using this energy while going through something that can be hard, because you can feel like, the way I'm experiencing this, it feels heavy and it almost feels like it's dragging me down. So it's difficult for me to be optimistic here, or to be forward thinking, when this is just a lot for me to be processing. And so it's hard to sort of find that spark within you. I wonder too if this is dealing with the outcome of something. I want to clarify what this Seven of Swords is. Ten of Swords and Seven of Swords can definitely be something that just sneaks up on you. Justice. So something is going to be made right. Okay. The thing that immediately comes to mind when I see Ten of Swords and Seven of Swords, so Ten of Swords is you go through something, so it can be like a painful chapter that you've been going through that's closing out though, so it's not going to be continuing anymore. But then Seven of Swords can be like after we go through something difficult, you know how it can kind of, you have that option to either have to sort of keep working through it and showing up with it and work with your shadow through that and still do what you feel like you need to do, versus you go through something that feels painful or difficult to process or really hard, and there's a part of you that's like, this can be the time where I turn into a villain. I kind of see it being like that type of thing, where something may just be so much to handle that there can be a part of you that sort of comes up and maybe thinking about doing things in a way where you wouldn't normally, but based off of the situation that you're going through and because it sort of triggering this part within you. And I wonder too, for some of you, if you're going through something that feels like it's unfair what you have to go through, just having Justice here, it can be one of those times where you feel like if you're doing something in the right way, it puts you at some type of disadvantage, and so that it can, well, that's what your shadow can be telling you anyway, and so it can bring you into a position of maybe doing something where it may not be, you may know like this isn't really the right way for me to go about doing this, but that part of me that's feeling triggered is feeling like if I play things fair, stuff will not work out for me or work in my advantage. And maybe that's like what had been happening, because the Emperor is you doing everything that you can, doing things the right way, like taking responsibility, being disciplined, you know, putting a concentrated effort in. And Five of Cups is that feeling of, why is this still not enough? Or like, why are things still not working out for me? And really feeling impacted by that and the weight of that emotionally, when you feel like, if I'm trying all I can, like I'm almost feeling hopeless within this. And then having the Seven of Swords show up, which can again like make matters worse for you. Having Justice here feels like keeping that in mind, the way that you're allowing a situation and your perspective of that situation that you're going through to impact you. Because I do feel like now what this is feeling like to me is with King of Pentacles and Queen of Cups, it feels like you're going through something where you have a responsibility and a way to maintain things for yourself, and even lifestyle can be involved, or like job responsibilities, roles that you play be involved in this, just the way that you're doing things and the proper way of doing things. Because also King of Pentacles has to do with your values and like your morality and stuff. Having then Queen of Cups come up, this can be like, okay, I'm going through a work situation, just an example. I'm going through a work situation right now that's getting to me emotionally. And how am I dealing with both of these energies? And it can be really difficult to channel this at a time when you feel like it would be so easy if you could separate these, and King of Pentacles shows up and goes and does the things that they're responsible for doing without having to be emotionally involved, having your hopes involved in things, or being emotionally connected with what you're doing. But at the same time, these things are not separate. Like they're both sort of showing up in this space, whatever this space is. So it feels like, how do you take the part of you that needs to be responsible, the part of you that needs to be well thought out with what you're doing, the part of you that needs to be showing up for the duties and roles that you have to show up for, the obligations that you have to show up for, and making sure that you're not cutting corners or anything like that, and have that part be mixing with the part of you that is very sensitive to things that are going on. So there's a part of you that that like you have a role and you need to play that role, or you have a job and you need to do that job or do those jobs or be this for that person or finish that thing that you already like obligated yourself to be doing and to be seeing through, or I have like this part of my reputation to uphold and maintain, or this title that there are certain things that I have to do in order to show up and do that properly. How do you like integrate that with a part of you that can feel, because of like the energy of Cancer being here and the Queen of Cups and this being connected with your moon energy, when you're going through stuff where it can be very up and down emotionally, how do you still show up for these things that you know you need to show up for while going through it emotionally, and having there be this thing that's happening psychologically because of that can maybe be pushing you in a direction that maybe wouldn't be the best direction for you to go in. I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but it feels like there's a temptation for that to happen. Like an aspect of maybe your emotional shadow that pops up. And some of you too, this can be another person that's coming through as well, where, like another example of this energy, King of Pentacles can be you playing a role, like you're a parent and you have a child that you're taking care of, and maybe you're co-parenting with someone. And Queen of Cups can be somebody that comes through and impacts you emotionally, and you have that opportunity of either allowing like displaced emotions to get in the way and actually conflict with the responsibilities that you have. It feels like from a place of emotional reactivity when you're going through something that feels stressful. And then the Emperor feels like experiencing what's going on and handling it responsibly, while also being transparent, but knowing too that there's like a responsibility to maintain. And to not just completely lose it when you're going through something that feels challenging, when you're going through something that feels difficult. Okay. Justice and Six of Cups. You can feel like something... Okay. Justice and Six of Cups, when it initially happens, you can feel like something does not benefit you, even though you're doing it the right way. But what I'm seeing is that things will actually be made right. You know what this is also feeling like too? It feels like there's some type of trial, and you do things in the right way, and there may be like another energy that can be twisted or like unjust or something like that, or just like not aligned with justice. And you can be in a position where you're like playing by the book, and there's another energy that's not, and there may have been some type of like unfair call that was made. But what I'm seeing is that, and that can be something that makes you, like the best way of what's coming through to describe that is like having something turn you bad. Like, you know, the villain story is like somebody goes through something unjust and they're not supported through that thing, and so they turn into the villain themselves. And even if this can be on like a really low-key scale, because I'm not saying like your whole life is going to change because of this, but it can just be one of those times where if something happens and it can feel very unfair, and you know that you were doing the right thing or like moving the right ways or showing up how you needed to show up, and still things like didn't work out in your favor, and it could have felt like it favored some type of like imbalanced energy that wasn't moving in the right way. But what I'm seeing and what's hidden and what's going to be coming to light is that there's going to be some type of reversal. So just know if there was some type of call that was made, and for some of you, this can even be something that was legally going on. You could have felt like something was not going to turn out in your favor, and for some of you, there was even a call that was actually made, but then I'm seeing what happens is that something ends up being reversed. So at first, initially, you experience something, and there's this feeling of, well, that wasn't right the way that that happened, or that wasn't fair the way that that happened. But what I'm seeing is behind the moon, which is like what's hidden, but then what's going to be coming to light, is there's going to be news that was delayed, and this is going to impact things. So I wonder too if some of you, even you've been dealing with something and felt like the trial, so to speak, has been somewhat unfair. There's going to be something that comes through, but it feels like it either comes out of nowhere, or like we expected to have all the information here and that's what was being worked with, and now this added piece of information comes through and that changes things, that shifts things. And I'm seeing that happening, and it like shifts the whole framework for everything. So I'm seeing something that's really there's a process that's really going to shift. So it even feels like, don't be reactive. Don't take something at face value too. And if you know that something's going on and it's not right, what's happening, don't then be like, gotta take matters into my own hands. Because I'm seeing something that can very much be like that here, where I feel like you're being tested at a very high level. This can also be something that's going on collectively too. So there can be a test at a very high level for how one sort of deals with this. And if you stay on track and keep doing things in the right way, you will see that things end up shifting, and you'll be happy that you sort of stayed on track here and didn't revert to something like needing to match some type of energy to sort of get your fair outcome. The fair outcome is going to happen. And there will be information. Again, there was going to be some type of information or like something that comes through, but I'm seeing it having been delayed. And it would have felt like everything's here, like all the information's here and everything that's being worked out and worked with is here. And so you think, oh, that's all there is. But then I'm seeing something else come after the fact that like was not expected. It's going to be like that type of thing that ends up happening. So that's what I'm seeing be going on. There can even be this like feeling of something being, it's a feeling of something being like unjust or unsettled, and even feeling anger about that, like something like that. Or just like, that's not right. It feels like some type of conviction that I'm seeing, and it feels like with like a judgment call or something that was being made, or how something was unfolding. But I'm seeing it be like, don't make this assumption too quickly, even though it seems almost like a an open and closed case. It's not, because something else comes through and it changes things, it shifts things. So that's what I'm seeing be going on. All right, my friends, we are going to leave the reading here. I would like to thank everyone for connecting. Thank you for tuning in. I'm sending everybody love, and I hope to catch you guys next time.